What's up, fantasy managers? Welcome back to another episode of the First Pitch Podcast brought to you by PitcherList.com. My name is Jake Crumpler, and I'll be your host for this edition of the podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler, and you can find all of my work at CrumplerBaseball.com. Let's dive into everything baseball related from Tuesday, May 20th. We'll start it off, as always, with the transactions, injuries, news, and notes from around the league, kicking things off with the bad news as relief pitcher Chris Martin was placed on the 15-day IL with shoulder fatigue. No, not the lead singer from Coldplay. Yes, I do make that joke every single time, but Chris Martin to the IL with shoulder fatigue. He left both of his last two outings over the past week with elbow and shoulder soreness, respectively. So Martin clearly needed some time to figure out what's going on. Shoulder fatigue is what's going on, how long he's going to be out. At least a couple of weeks for now. And it's terrible timing for Martin because Luke Jackson just looked like he was starting to lose his grasp of the closer role. But for now, he'll hold on to it unless Robert Garcia can step up. But in a corresponding move, Cole Winn was recalled from the minors, but that's Chris Martin headed to the IL with shoulder fatigue. And our other IL placement involves starting pitcher JT Ginn, who was placed on the 15-day IL with a quad strain, and he was just on the IL for 3 weeks with elbow inflammation, and he returned for just one start before heading back to the injured list. Luckily, it's not an elbow or at least arm-related injury for Ginn, and hopefully he'll be back in the minimum time. In a corresponding move, Anthony Maldonado was recalled from the minors. He has also been yo-yoed between assignments recently as well. In terms of transactions, starting pitcher Brandon Walter was selected from the minors to make his major league debut in Tampa Bay. Walter is a lefty who pitches for the Astros. He tossed 5 shutout innings, allowing 3 hits and 1 walk while striking out 5, inducing 6 whiffs with 25% CSW across 80 pitches. Walter had a clear approach against righties and lefties, throwing cutters and changeups to righties and sweepers and sinkers to lefties. His command looked pretty good too. Unfortunately, his stuff wasn't overpowering. He featured an 87 mile per hour cutter and a 91 mile per hour sinker, but he does have a bit of funk with his alternating arm slots depending on what pitch he throws and what time. A little bit of Johnny Cueto from the left side, but he'd get Seattle next if he sticks, and I'm definitely watching that one from afar, but Walter has already proven that he can make things work in the major leagues. Next, we have catcher Jake Rogers, who was activated from the 10-day IL. He missed a month and a half with an oblique strain, and he'll return to being the Tigers' everyday catcher. Tomas Nido was designated for assignment in a corresponding move. Next, we have outfielder Ian Happ, who was activated from the 10-day IL. He spent just 7 days on the IL due to the retroactive nature of his assignment, and that's with an oblique strain. I've never heard from somebody only spending a week on the IL with an oblique strain, but that's what makes Ian Happ a big league baseball player, and now he will return to being the everyday left fielder and leadoff man for the Cubs. In a corresponding move, unfortunately, top prospect Moises Ballesteros was optioned to the minors. He played just 5 games in his brief cup of coffee. Our last transaction involves starting pitcher Walker Buehler, who was activated from the 15-day IL to start versus the Mets. He had been out with shoulder inflammation. He tossed just 2 1/3 innings as he didn't make any rehab starts, but he didn't allow any hits or earned runs. He walked 2 while striking out 4, inducing 7 whiffs with 32% CSW across 50 pitches. Buehler's velo was also up 1.2 miles per hour, but maybe it's just because he knew that he had a short leash in this one. Also, his control wasn't great, so I think we're going to sit back, wait a couple more starts until Buehler is fully stretched out to really start considering him in fantasy. And in terms of news, outfielder Robert Hassell III is expected to be promoted for his MLB debut. He's the Nationals' number 11 prospect, but more notably, he was the 8th overall pick in 2020. In my mind, he's always been linked to Zach Veen. They were drafted right around each other. We're both high school outfielders that have struggled throughout the minor leagues, mostly with punch-outs, and that's been the case for Robert Hassell III, but he's worked on that a little bit. We saw him just strike out just 20% of the time at AAA this year while batting .277 with 4 homers and 9 steals, but that's good for just a 91 WRC plus. And I'm not really sure where Hassell's going to play with Jacob Young in center, James Wood, and Dylan Cruz making up the corner outfield. And maybe somebody shifts to DH or something and pushes Josh Bell to the bench, but I wouldn't expect that to happen. I think Robert Hassell III is probably going to be a 4th outfielder for the Nationals. Now we'll take a look at some of the notable performances performances from Tuesday, a day in which we had just 14 games on the slate. We were originally scheduled for 16, as we were going to resume the matchup between the Guardians and the Twins and then play the originally scheduled game, but both of those games got rained out. Tomorrow, or I guess today, the resumed game or the paused game will be resumed, and the yesterday scheduled game will be played today, and the one that was rained out yesterday will now be made up on September 20th. I'm sure that made a ton of sense. We'll start things off with our hitters, leading off with catcher Jonah Heim, as we've got a catcher-themed hitting recap today. Jonah Heim did all he could, but the Rangers lost in the Bronx. He went 2 for 4 with a run, a double, a homer, and 2 runs batted in. It was his 6th homer of the year, and it traveled 362 feet at 96 miles per hour. And after a breakout 4 F4 2023 campaign from Jonah Heim, he took a huge step back last year as he spent time on both the bereavement and paternity lists. It was a big year, probably a lot of emotions going on for Heim, but it looks as though he's rediscovered his power stroke this year as he's been more aggressive on the base paths as well, already tying his career high with 3 swipes. Heim's underlying metrics sort of worry me. He's not pulling or lifting the ball as much as he usually does, and we've seen a lot of swing and miss in his game, an area in which he used to excel. I wouldn't be overly concerned if Heim didn't have legit competition behind the plate in Kyle Higashioka, but ultimately I wouldn't worry too much. Heim's pretty solid, but you may want to look for a replacement in standard leagues if you've got a deep waiver wire. Next, we have catcher Carlos Narvaez, who helped the Red Sox to a win versus the Mets, going 1 for 3 with a run, a home run, and a run batted in. It was his 5th homer of the year, and it traveled 366 feet at 96 miles per hour. And I thought Connor Wong was a staple for the Red Sox after last year's breakout, but his struggles have opened the door for Narvaez, who was acquired via trade from the rival Yankees over the offseason. And Narvaez has taken that opportunity and claimed everyday duties behind the plate for the Red Sox. And it's not like he hasn't earned it, though, batting .280 with an .812 OPS. And his 13% barrel rate really gets me excited and suggests that the power he's already displayed will stick. I'm a bit skeptical of that .280 batting average. Not only is Narvaez running a .346 BABIP, but his 25% strikeout rate, 73% contact rate, and 14% swinging strike rate all point to a below average producer in the batting average department. The power and everyday role, though, are cool, and I think Narvaez is definitely worth a shot in 15-teamers and 2 catcher leagues. Lastly, we have catcher Logan O'Hoppe, who helped the Angels to win versus the A's in Sacramento, going 2 for 5 with a run, a home run, and 2 runs batted in. It was his 11th homer of the year, and it traveled 381 feet at 109 miles per hour. O'Hoppe has been all or nothing this year, trailing only Cal Raleigh in home runs among catchers with 11, but also leading all catchers with at least 100 plate appearances with his 33% strikeout rate. O'Hoppe paired his homer on Tuesday with a couple more strikeouts as well, and honestly, it's all warranted for the catcher. O'Hoppe sports an impressive 17% barrel rate, but he also is swinging and missing at 16% of the pitches he sees. So what you see is what you get with O'Hoppe. I would avoid O'Hoppe in points leagues, especially ones in which you're dinged for strikeouts, but everywhere else I'd hold on tight for a big power, low average season from Logan O'Hoppe. But if you'd like a breakdown of other notable hitting performances from Tuesday, check out the daily Batters Box article over on pitcherlist.com. Now we'll check out the notable starting pitching performances, opening with Hayden Birdsong, who helped the Giants to win versus the Royals, tossing 5 shutout innings, allowing 5 hits and no walks while striking out 4. He induced 12 whiffs with 35% CSW across 80 pitches, and Birdsong is getting a chance in the rotation as he swaps places with Jordan Hicks, who heads to the bullpen. And Birdsong almost made the rotation out of spring, but he narrowly lost a battle with Landon Rupp. But in his first start of the season, Birdsong displayed his dope heater at 96 miles per hour with 19 inches of IVB. He kept his fastballs upstairs for 3 whiffs and 33% CSW, while his slider was hung a bit, but it managed to return 4 whiffs and 70% strikes as it landed in the zone often. His changeup needs some work, but it was an effective secondary offering to lefties for 3 whiffs and 27% CSW, and Birdsong threw a curveball to steal 6 called strikes for 47% CSW. Birdsong stuff is dope, and I take the chance in standard leagues while he's commanding his pitches. He gets the Tigers in Detroit next. That doesn't scare me enough to avoid starting him there. Next, we have Logan Henderson, who helped the Brewers to win versus the Orioles, tossing 5 shutout innings, allowing just 2 hits and 2 walks while striking out 7. He induced 20 whiffs with 31% CSW across 90 pitches. Henderson absolutely roasted the Orioles in this one, earning the gallows pull in just 5 innings. His fastball and changeup were devastating. The heater was effectively located upstairs for 9 whiffs and 36% CSW, while his changeup stayed low for 8 whiffs and 23% CSW. To keep Henderson in at bats, he threw 9 cutters for 100% strikes. Yes, you heard that right. 100% strikes on 9 cutters, which is all kinds of awesome. And surprisingly, he went 52% changeups against the few righties that he faced. But hey, this was dope regardless. Henderson now sports a 1.69 ERA and a 0.81 whip through 3 career starts. And with the Pittsburgh Pirates up next in Pittsburgh, I think you got to pick up Logan Henderson everywhere. And lastly, we have Will Warren, who helped the Yankees to win versus the Rangers, tossing 5 2/3 shutout innings, allowing 5 hits and 1 walk while striking out 10. He induced 13 whiffs with 35% CSW across 101 pitches, and Warren caught the Rangers in between all night to earn the King Cole leading baseball with his 35% CSW. He stayed glove side to righties all night, clipping the edges with sinkers, then ripping off sweepers off the plate or pumping 4-seamers upstairs. And against lefties, he attempted the Blake Snell blueprint, but he left his 4-seamers over the plate a little bit and spiked his curveballs and changeups. But nonetheless, it worked, as the 4-seamer and sweeper couldn't be touched in this one, combining for 11 whiffs and 38% CSW, while his sinker was invisible, stealing 12 called strikes on its own. Warren is an exciting play with his high strikeout ceiling and high win chance, but there are clearly some kinks to work out despite the double-digit strikeout performance on Tuesday. Warren gets the Rockies in Colorado, and despite the poor ballpark there, the Rockies lineup is really bad. I think Warren is probably worth starting there. Now we'll head to the bullpen and check out the relievers that got saves and the closers that pitched outside of save situations or blew their saves. Starting with the former, Aroldis Chapman recorded his 8th save with a perfect 9th. Jeff Hoffman recorded his 10th save with a perfect 9th. David Bednar, whoa, I think the Pirates are listening to the podcast maybe, because yesterday I went on a slight little rant where I talked about how David Bednar should not be being thrown in the 7th inning. And what do you know? Here he is pitching the 9th inning. And what do you know? He's scoreless after allowing 2 runs the previous night, and David Bednar is now up to 4 saves. So looks like Don Kelly learned his lesson on Monday and showed and proved that he learned from it on Tuesday. Luke Weaver recorded his 6th save as he recorded the final out of the game for the Yankees after Ian Hamilton struggled to close out a 5-run lead. Kenley Jansen worked around a run to record his 10th save. Ryan Walker is up to 9 saves after throwing a perfect 9th. Tommy Kahnle threw a perfect 9th to record his 6th save. Will Vest pitched in that one. He threw in the 8th against the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think the 9 and 1 hitters were lefties, which makes sense for Kahnle, who's more of a changeup hitter. So if we're doing big brain AJ Hinch math here, you'd throw Will Vest against the 5, 6, 7, 8, and then hope Kahnle can come in and face some lefties. But that wasn't the case. Nonetheless, Kahnle was able to get the save. Kyle Finnegan recorded his 15th save with the perfect 9th. He is now tied for the major league lead with Robert Suarez and Andres Munoz. Jordan Leisure recorded his first save of the season with a scoreless 9th. And lastly, Abner Uribe recorded his first save of the season as he struck out the side in order. Trevor McGillis had pitched on back-to-back days, but so had Abner Uribe. So, hey, all I'm saying is Abner Uribe has been really good this year. In terms of closers to pitch outside of save situations or blow their saves, Tanner Scott pitched the 9th up by 1 and served up a game-tying homer to Gabriel Moreno before closing out the inning, and then coming back out for the 10th inning and serving up a go-ahead homer to Corbin Carroll, and then staying in for 2 more batters before being replaced. And then Shelby Miller came in to pitch, and he allowed the Dodgers to come all the way back, blowing his 3rd save and taking his first loss in the process. Pete Fairbanks pitched a scoreless 8th with the Rays down by 2, allowing the Rays to mount a comeback and win that ball game. And lastly, Felix Bautista surrendered 2 runs, pitching the 8th inning down by 1. But if you'd like more information on relief pitchers, check out Rick Graham's weekly articles over on pitcherlist.com. And before we look forward to today's games, we're going to take a quick break. Now we'll look forward to Wednesday, May 21st, a day in which we'll have a packed slate of 16 games as the Guardians and Twins will resume their suspended ball game from a couple of days ago. My matchup of the day will be Hunter Brown versus Taj Bradley. Both of these guys have electric stuff. One is able to harness it a little more than the other, but Bradley can sometimes have some really electric performances as well. Brown is expected to dominate against the Rays, and that should be fun to watch. In terms of probable starters, we've got 5 guys in the auto starts tier, including Brown. We've also got Jacob deGrom in New York against the Yankees, Garrett Crochet against the Mets, Joe Ryan versus the Guardians, and Logan Webb versus the Royals. In our probably starts tier, we've got 4 guys, and that's where we'll find our streamer of the day in Cade Horton against the Marlins in Miami. Horton has been solid through his first 2 starts, in the Marlins lineup is really bad, and honestly, he should be able to at least set himself up for the chance to get a win. I'd also keep an eye out for Logan Evans in Chicago against the White Sox. It's the same situation. Evans isn't super great, rookie pitcher, but the Mariners maybe will mount enough offense to give him a shot to take down the lowly White Sox and earn a win. In terms of hitter suggestions, I'd look at Phillies and Rockies hitters in Coors. Pretty self-explanatory, but the pitching matchup is awful. Taijuan Walker versus Carson Palmquist, who's making the second start of his career. This is going to be an offensive explosion in Coors. I'd also go for Braves hitters versus Trevor Williams, as he sports a 5.91 ERA on the season. And now we'll close things out with our relievers to watch. Aroldis Chapman has pitched on back-to-back days and in 3 of the past 4. But Justin Slayton has also pitched on back-to-back days, so maybe Liam Hendriks gets a save opportunity for the Red Sox on Wednesday. Kenley Jansen has pitched on back-to-back days and in 4 of the past 5, so I'd expect Ryan Zefferjon to pitch the 9th for the Angels on Wednesday. David Bednar has pitched on back-to-back days, so we could see Dennis Santana get a save for the Pirates today. Shelby Miller has pitched in 3 in a row, and Kevin Ginkel has pitched in 4 of the past 5. So maybe we see Jalen Beeks get a save opportunity for the Diamondbacks. And lastly, Ryan Walker has pitched in 3 of the past 4 days. So we could see Camilo Doval get the 9th for the Giants. But that'll do it for today's episode of the First Pitch Podcast. Make sure to head on over to pitcherlist.com to check out all of the great articles and features we have on the site. Sign up for PL Plus or PL Pro to gain access to the Discord and to support the Pitcher List staff. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake Crumpler. Tune in live on YouTube tomorrow and every day for a new installment of the podcast. And make sure to enjoy the day as we are blessed with another day of baseball.